All systems go. Cleared for takeoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo. We're back on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Got my guy Nades here with me as always. Going to do the review show for Sunday, Week 5 NFL DFS review, breaking down some of the winning lineups, the $20 Millie Maker. We got the Mega. We had a member at SHIPIT Nation win the Game Changer for $100K, the $1,500 single entry. So we'll go through that. I'll go through my core lineup from the site yesterday, and then we'll break down everything on LineStar with the perfect lineup. So we're going to show you guys that. And then we're also going to check out some of our tools, the stack rankings and the DVP rankings, the stuff you could have used yesterday to make a lot of money like a lot of our members did. Before I bring my guy Nades in, I want to show you here quickly, brought to you and presented by LineStar. As always, we had our guy Tyler on last week. We're going to show off some of the other stuff. They've got their matchup stuff on the site. The Props AI, their new tool where you can take projections and bring them right over. We're working on some stuff with that. And then, of course, we're going to go through the perfect lineup like always. If you guys want to go over there, you can go to shipitnation.com/LineStar app. You can do it that way, or you can just go to LineStar and check out LineStarApp.com. Sorry, check out their site yourself and then use promo code SHIPIT if you want to do that. Nades, bring you in. What's going on, man? How's your Week 5 going so far? Like we always like to say on this show, we got a lot more to come with Monday Night Football tonight.
Yeah, had a great Week 5. Sunday was great. Had a lot of scores right around 195 to 210. Couldn't quite get all the way home. Nailed a lot of the things, obviously, courtesy of our tools over here at SHIPIT Nation, which we're going to showcase. And nailed that showdown slate last night. Obviously, I only had a single bullet last night, so didn't have the right iterations with the Jordan Masons, the 5-1 stack there. But got on here, talked about Kittle Captain, was all over Kittle Captain in the core plays, things like that. So that was nice to see. And yeah, been a great Week 5. I know some of our members absolutely smashed. Tito continues to smash in the cash streets. I mean, that free money Sunday is definitely real life in the cash streets for Tito. I see a lot of members tailing his stuff, his GPP stuff, your stuff. I mean, the whole team, we were locked in yesterday. Near misses everywhere, but hey, you need to be perfect on Sunday. That's what we're going to look at today. Try and hone in a better process. Give you guys a little glance at how we talk through how I use some of these tools. I know you're going to talk on that. So excited to dive in. Love this show. It's a big part of prepping and becoming a better player for sure.
Yeah, shout out to everybody joining us here. Our guy Go Collect says most positive mojo going for us on this Monday after the weekend the community had. You love to see it. Appreciate you. Our guy Stewie in here as always. Nobody cares. Work harder. Only 2 guys to talk today, Stewie. So you're going to have to listen to me. Tweezy, our guy, always supporting us, got the job done yesterday. Won the giveaway for $100. Sean, can't wait to learn some more keys to building winning lineups. We're going to talk about all that and more. Thanks to everybody else for joining us. Jordan, dialing in the NBA stuff yesterday in the best ball streets, even in the Discord. He was checking some stuff out. Looks like he punched his first ticket into the 888. NBA will be back soon. Nades, NHL coming back starting tomorrow. This afternoon when I get off this, I've got website support team meeting. We're going to get the NHL matchup sheet up on the site that everybody knows and loves. Can break that down. Nades is going to have all his stuff up there, and then our projections, which are on fire always, but especially for these upcoming sports, NHL and NBA as well. We're going to look at our NFL projections here shortly. Anything you want to add on that, Nades, while I pop it up there? Obviously, people can get in now to give it a trial, but talk about the NHL product coming our way here starting tomorrow.
Yeah, NHL is not a huge flashy sport outside of obviously NBA All-Star break. Once that comes around, obviously NBA hasn't started, but feels like once these sports kick off, All-Star break, things like that are here before you know it. But NHL is extremely profitable. Contests aren't great, but they do have some good single entry contests. I mean, $12 single entry is usually $1,000 or $1,500 every night. Can get in $5 single entries. They have all stakes, good 20 max contest. And if you like MLB DFS, which obviously that's winding down here with the playoffs in session, NHL is very similar. There's a lot of game theory. I've played NHL DFS. That's how I started getting in DFS. I know my dad's going to help me out in the Discord. He's the one that kind of got me into DFS, taught me about NHL, but was very, very profitable last year. Many shippers. And NHL is my favorite sport to chase tickets for and satellites for NBA and NFL, other things like that. So love the product. We're going to have you covered over here. Core plays, every night, recorded shows 2 or 3 times a week. And then obviously the matchup sheet, which is one of a kind in this industry.
Yeah. We're going to talk about this Burrow stack smash. Yeah, we're going to break that down too. That was something I had that in my slate plan. If you like the Dobbs side, I said you have to like the Burrow side. Also, if you like Chase, which I'll show you why you should have liked Chase if you didn't enough already. Obviously, the guy got extreme ownership once the day went on, but at $7,900 with the ability to play within that Arizona-Cincinnati game, which again, we'll go to that in a second. We'll break it all down. Tweezy, I know Hoopster said he's going to send that money out shortly. We always do it where we send them all at once, so it's not like a delay thing as much as we've been upfront and transparent about it. Anytime we do those Sunday giveaways, we wait for everybody to contact us, do them all at one time. And maybe he'll do a special one just for you. I told you, hit him up. He'll get that sent out. And I'm only teasing you, Stewie. Love you as always, man. Appreciate you always joining and supporting. Let's move over here, Nades. Let's check this out. Let's bring up the setup here. We'll do the two-screen overlay. Pop it up. Bring our partners Line Star in here again. Like I mentioned before, guys, we're going to look at this perfect lineup brought to you by Line Star. But if you haven't got over there yet, there's just a ton of stuff going on. We talked about it with the other sports coming back. They're going to be helping provide our NHL ownership. They're going to be helping with our NBA ownership as it comes back. They've got you covered on all of these other sports, projections, props, the app itself. The pricing is very little. It's a great complimentary piece. If you're already a SHIPIT Nation member, I know a lot of people hit me up and jumped over and joined here. You can check out the ownership right on their site directly if you're not with us. The Props AI tool, which is new to them, like they said, where you can go on and take the projections and then see what props that applies towards. And then the matchups, the red zone, all that stuff you guys can check out. I know, Nades, you've used it a lot for NHL as well in the past, so it's going to be good. Check out Line Star if you haven't already. Let's check out the perfect lineup, Nades. Desmond Ridder finally makes his way into one of these things. $4,900, 29 DraftKings points, but Zach Moss, Breece Hall, Adam Thielen. Very interesting, first off, to me, Nades, no Achane and no Detroit players at all, even though when we get to those winning lineups, and this is kind of a combination piece of you don't have to get to the optimal, even though the money was there, the score was there. You're not going to get to a lot of these pieces, but some of them you would, and then go from there. Maybe it's Ridder and Moss, the ones that stand out to me that people really wouldn't have been on as heavy. But talk to me about this lineup, Nades. What do you see with the perfect lineup for starters before we get rolling here?
Yeah, I mean, I was on a couple of these plays. Obviously, Jamar Chase. I like Dalton Schultz a lot. I'll talk about that. Breece Hall, obviously one of the best running back plays, best matchup on the board. And the price point there at 5,400 was a joke with the coach speak saying, right, his chains and restrictions are kind of lifted there. Obviously, Dalvin Cook, I don't know what happened to him in the offseason there, but Breece Hall, so explosive. Obviously, he busted that 70-some yard runoff. Just nobody untouched. Not quite the HN, but Breece Hall is pretty similar there. Adam Thielen, obviously, I mean, it feels like this is just, you can just pen Sharpie Thielen's name in this perfect lineup every single week so far this season. What a resurgence he's having there in Carolina. The George Pickens thing, I mean, Tyreek Hill, that game was, a lot of people were going to Miami, the H-Hands, the Tyreek Hills. That offense just continues to score. It doesn't matter who they're playing against. So a couple pieces like Zach Moss thing. I mean, I don't think anyone was going to get to Zach Moss there unless you're literally playing the Powerball or the Mega Millions or lottery out there, because Jonathan Taylor being back, right? Just so it's the NFL just doesn't make sense sometimes, right? Jonathan Taylor, all the stuff with the salary and everything in the offseason, right? They finally sign him and pay the man, and Zach Moss is the lead back again there. So that's interesting. Desmond Ridder, nobody's really getting to Desmond Ridder. I was on a quarterback at that same price point, 4,900, Ryan Tannehill. But I mean, some of these plays people were playing, right? Thielen's, the Breece Halls, the Dalton Schultz, or the Jamar Chase, and then that Saints defense. I know you were on the Saints defense. I was on the Saints defense. I was actually on both defenses in that game. Obviously, The Patriots was not the side you wanted in that game, but I had a lot of Alvin Kamara, Saints defense correlation. The Saints defense is very, very good. They've been good all year. They have a lot of playmakers on that team. They basically shut down the Packers when I was at that game. I mean, it was very, very frustrating to watch. The Saints defense was just suffocating. They continue to get done each and every week. And they were just at that $3K price point there, a little bit higher than the Titans, which everyone wanted to play. That game, we expected to be slower. Obviously, the Saints just punched them in the mouth. So both those defenses, you could get to a lot of these pieces. Obviously, perfect lineup. no stacks, things like that happen because it's just obviously the optimal plays.
Yeah.
And when we have a day like yesterday where it's high scoring, a lot of plays go off, the optimal lineup's going to be kind of crazy. But you can look at a lot of this stuff in here and see when we look at the actual winning lineups that won the contest, there's a lot of similar things that you can pick out.
Yeah, well, a couple things. Stewie says it here. This is common because we're reviewing what was the optimal lineup. So it is like Nade's just said, it's going to be just the top scorers at every position that fit in the lineup to make the overall top score on the slate for the optimal, not what you're going to see when we get to the winning lineups. You're going to see a ton of correlation. This was the irony of it all. How many weeks did we play the chalk and it just absolutely failed because Tennessee's so good against the running back? And then this is the case. But this thing that you said, and I see other people talk about it, said the NFL is weird, doesn't make any sense. This makes a lot of sense. Guy didn't play for 4 weeks. Like, I'm not getting to Moss. I'm not saying I would have played Moss because of this, but it wasn't like, Taylor, just because he gets paid, comes out and gets 3 touchdowns week 1. Like, the guy hasn't been playing football. So I don't think it's that crazy that they still gave the ball to Moss. I think this is way crazier. And I was never playing Moss thinking this is a strategy. I'm just saying it's not that crazy to me that it wasn't Taylor that had the big day. I didn't think it was going to be any running backs. It's more crazy that somebody had a big day against this D. So I thought that was pretty funny. Zero correlation will happen in some of this stuff, but for overall, I thought it made, sense at least that, the other plays like the Thielen, the George Pickens, no Freiermuth, still no Deontay, Tyreek, we knew a piece of that game, Jamar Chase. The other point I wanted to make, Nades, you said it. I was on both sides. I actually like the Patriots side better, but this is the thing about defenses. If you go from your strategy, if you're building a player pool and you're building 20 or more lineups and you're trying to put a number in, we talk about this all the time over at SHIPIT Nation. It's a lot about the process, not just the picks. The defense is where I'll cap it at a number, 20, 25%, something like that, and let the other ones fall in where they may. Well, I still pinpoint the defenses I want to fall within it, and I like both Ds in this game. I didn't know which one it was going to be, but we'll show you more after. Like we said it on the show yesterday, you could play them on their own. If you didn't have the extra $100 for the Patriots, or you just like this spot better, Mac Jones does whip it around. Like, he had multiple attempts in many games so far. You could get at it from that perspective. But then also, if you were getting to Kamara and you wanted to play a game where Kamara got his thing going and then play the Saints D with it, you could definitely do that. Anything more on this lineup you want to talk about, Nades? If not, I want to go to our stack rankings.
No, I think we hit on it. Well, obviously, perfect lineup. I mean, yeah, if you hit this, congratulations. You should probably go play the lottery or something. But you can use this, right? Like the defense thing. I do the same thing. I typically cap defense because unless we have a situation right earlier this year where we have the Commanders significantly underpriced in a great matchup for that, that's where when we've reviewed, we've seen a lot of great top end players either hit the lock button on them or go 85, 90% on a cheap defense like that. Typically, I'm capping my defense. Like yesterday, my MME, I capped defense at 25%. Just because it is sporadic. I like both defenses in that game. I had pretty much equal parts of the Steelers, the Saints, and the Patriots. Obviously, Patriots didn't get there, but the Saints and the Steelers crushed. So we'll talk on that. But yeah, not too much more to say on this lineup.
Yeah, and our guy Joe, who Kevlar in the Discord, he's a member. He says, does it ever take it to win this? Almost never. We're usually like 50 points off, 40 points off. The last couple of weeks, if you've been watching the show, there actually was some close calls where we got someone was within like 20. It was like a
2v. It was like a 2v2 the last week or the week before. It was like a 2v2
two plays away from the optimal. But again, it was the 2 plays like this, Nades. It was like a situation where you were just 2 guys you weren't getting to, but they'd pegged everything else. That was last week. That's a nice thing about Line Star too. You can go back here. Let's go to week 4. I think it was like Dobbs and somebody. And Michael, it ended Wilson. Up being like the other side of that, and they had it. But either way, just to show it, like you can always go back in Line Star and see it and then pair it up as we look at it out there to see. But just to say, yeah, in Showdown, you're going to need it. And then real quick, people are asking about the hockey stuff. We will have on the, I think we said 4 or 5 games. I can't remember whichever day it was, Nades. We'll get after it. We'll get the official details out shortly, but it will be on days depending on the amount of games, obviously with NFL, NBA, everything else going on. But Nades is going to be running the NHL product over at shipitnation.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jeff. I think 4 or 5 game slates, depending on what the rest of the schedule looks like. I'll have a pre-recorded show, whether I do it the night before or get it out, kind of like the Sunday Night Football Showdown Hamwich and I do. Try and keep it to about 20 minutes to 30 minutes, get you in there. You can throw it on 1.5x, get it done in 10 to 15 minutes, and then you still have all the content up as well. Less is more. We try and cut all the small talk, give you the plays, give you the slate talk that you need to build competitive winning lineups. And if you on Twitter or X, as Tambo likes to say, we got a lot of screenshots that just posted up there from week 5 alone, let alone every other week.
Yeah, you can go on there right now. On there, it's at SHIPIT Nation. Definitely looking to bump up the following there. We're looking for the like button here. We're looking for the subscribers. When we get to 4,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, we're giving away a 6-month bundle where you'll be able to get access to things like I'm about to show you with our stack rankings, DVP rankings, all of that. But if you go on X, formerly known as Twitter, is what the new official professional way of saying it apparently is. If you read all these emails coming from big companies and stuff, if you go on there at SHIPIT Nation and repost the latest tweet that shows it's our pinned tweet, we're going to be giving away $50 cash, a SHIPIT Nation hat and t-shirt combo this afternoon on the Mayo Media Network on our 2 p.m. Eastern Monday Night Football Showdown show. So all you have to do, go on X, repost it, extra ballot if you reply to it, #ShipIt, or anything else that you want to put to talk about the community. But just a note, a couple more things here. These guys asked about, T. Trissel asked, how do you determine the defense? Looking at things like opportunities. This is one thing I talk about all the time. Sometimes there's a situation where it ends up being a backup in there, a third string quarterback or something, and everyone just hops on the defense against, but you're trying to think about it. And it's high variance, not easy to get this right, but that's why you're trying to pick, for me at least, a smaller pool of 6 to 8 defenses and letting them fit in where they may. But you're trying to look at defense that are going to have opportunities. The thing with the Saints yesterday was Mac Jones tosses it around a bunch, throws INTs. There's an opportunity there. That's why it could be a thing. I like the Patriots just as much on the other side of that game where it was $100 more. And you think about Derek Carr. The thing was, we kept saying was, would Derek Carr throw it around enough, or was he just going to continue to check it down or make less mistakes that way? Harder to get after your opportunities that way. But I did like both sides there. And then Dana asked, when will it be ready? It launches tomorrow, so it'll be on the site starting tonight. I have a meeting, I mentioned it earlier, right after this show to get everything officially. We already have it mostly done. We're putting the finishing touches on it before we go live. But while I'm here, you can see it. We will have our projections. We will have ownership. Nades controls the core report with your GPP and your cash stuff. The slate plan, he'll have it all broken down there. Where, beyond just his core plays, the matchup sheet where you can see game by game, you'll really be able to pinpoint which games and teams and stacks you'll want to target. And then the slate info will be free for everybody, where you can just go and see who's on the slate, what are some of the totals, who's the favorite, all that stuff for your money line, all those things for your betting perspective. So that will all be up on the site and go from there. Fumbles, yeah, you're looking for opportunities, like Stewie said. Can they, is there teams that throw it around more? Is there teams that fumble more? Things like that. You can use DVP rankings as well, which we'll show after. But Nades, let's dive in here. Anybody who hasn't seen it, these stack rankings have been on fire 4 out of 5 weeks. We definitely had 1 week these weren't on point, but just so people who don't know, if you're a member at ShipItNation.com, you get access to these stack rankings. The timestamps there, it's from yesterday before the slate locked, and it just shows you some of the angles in and a couple things that stood out: the Cardinals and the Bengals game, the 2 big dogs for Mahomes and Hurts. Desmond Ridder was up there and on the optimal. So just to note it, I talked all week about Kyle Pitts. People didn't want to hear me on it. Big game for him, 15, 16 DraftKings points at 3,300. That was fine and low owned. But I'm going to show it a little bit more in depth to make it make sense. And I'm going to be fair about it too, Nades. I just did this lineup in like 10 minutes this morning. It's totally results oriented. I was just messing around with it to see it. But if you go over here and look on the solver, our optimizer partner, and you can look at our projections that were in there, you see that Jamar Chase was our top value at wide receiver. So I started with him. We're going to go back and forth for a second, and that's fine. If you go over here, I can understand why you might not want Goff, Dobbs, or Tannehill, but this is how people got to the Burrow stacks. If Jamar Chase has a massive day, it's likely going to be 2 touchdowns or more, which is going to bring Joe Burrow along. If you wanted a run back, the options were Ertz or Brown, but we'll go with it. And another thing I want to note, Nades, and you're using these rankings to build a lineup just to show it off. It is results oriented, but I want to just give you guys an idea of a thought process on how you can use this. I'm going to be fair. And because the Goff, Raymond, Laporta stack was our number one, far and away, I didn't let myself put David Montgomery into this lineup. Even though he was chalk, even though he was good chalk for a reason and we knew it, I did not allow myself to put him in here. So what I did is I went with Chase, Burrow, and Brown to get things started off. Because I didn't go with Montgomery, I went with Laporta. I used Laporta. I didn't go with Ertz. I went with Laporta. I'll go back. I used Laporta in here. Then where I went was how I got to Achane, Kamara, and Hall was not only did they still pop, we saw all three of them up here besides Bijan and Montgomery, who I wouldn't allow myself to get to in this lineup out of fairness of the stack rankings. I said, okay, where are the Saints on here? They're way down here. If it's not going to be a passing game, maybe it's going to be a Kamara game. Perfect. If it's not going to be a Jets passing game, which I stupidly still tried to make that thing work via these three, I tried to force it in. That's fine. But I said, if it's not going to be that, let's get Breece Hall in there. And if the Dolphins, in this example, I know Tyreek's still crushed, and I actually still like this stack too. But if the Dolphins are this far down our stack rankings, and who was it? Burrow, Mahomes, and Hurts are above the Tua stacks. If I can't get to Hill and Smythe, let me go to Achane. So now I filled out Burrow, Chase, Brown, Laporta for no Montgomery, Kamara, Achane, Breece Hall. I go look at our Ds. The Saints were still way up there. Saints with Kamara made sense. It's the last play in, but it just happened to be Thielen as a secondary stack with Laporta. So if anybody's looking at this and you're seeing where I got this from, that's where I get it. Burrow, Chase, Brown. There's your 2-1. Then you've got Kamara with the defense. You've got Thielen with Laporta, 2 secondary stacks. And then you land on Achane and Breece Hall. You pretty much get pieces from a lot of these good spots. It makes sense if Chase is the number one that you're going to pair him up with the first quarterback that you saw that you maybe could stomach outside of Goff, Dobbs, and Tannehill. And we're going to see a bunch of Goff lineups with these guys when we get to the winning lineups. But just to show it, Nades, and give us your thoughts in the chat. But I mean, this is a way that you can use this tool to your advantage. And a lot of the guys in that lineup scored here. Just for those, keeping track at home, the actual score of that lineup, 248.68. Keep that in mind. Any thoughts here, Nades, before we move on? But there's a lot you can talk about here with these stack rankings.
Yeah, the stack rankings too. But if you go to our projections like you were in Solver, if you just say the Laporta thing, oh, well, why'd you just pick out Laporta? You're results oriented. Sort by value by tight end once and see who's our number
right
one.
Here. Yeah, he's top.
Oh, it's Laporta. Sort by value in the running back, right? You're not playing Montgomery because you want the pass. You're doing the passing game, right? Well, look at Achane's right there. Kamara's right there. Bang, bang. The Jets, right? With the coach speak, everything like that. Yeah, Breece Hall doesn't have a great value ranking, but he's got the best matchup when we talk about DVP matchup on the slate. One of the best matchups on the board with running backs versus Denver. So he's right there, right? There's so many ways, like our tools and content. There's so many ways that, yeah, you can say this is results oriented, but the way you just broke it down on using our tools that are available to subscribers over here, myself included, my main core lineup scored 198 using this tools. It was a Ryan Tannehill stack with DeAndre Hopkins, had a lot of these pieces, the Chases, the Breece Halls, the Kamaras. I mean, you broke it down perfectly. And people are going to say results oriented, blah, blah, blah. But when you look at and you see our timestamp on these projections and sort by value, all of these plays pop right there and can easily be put in. Kicking myself that I didn't see this, obviously, right? The whole puzzle piece example, right? Yeah. We all have the pieces in front of us, right? We're not looking at the cover to put the piece together until after the slate's over. And it's just it's frustrating, right? When you look back and see this, then how easy it could have been in all of our content. And a lot of our members did come very close, right? And we had a lot of winning screenshots, myself included. So
yeah, Brandon says he scored 222.48. I mean, that's the thing. The lineup itself is results oriented. I'm just showing how you can use it for process. That's what we are. That's what we're all about. Like, this is maybe not where you get to, but look, go build a Goff, Raymond, Laporta, Montgomery lineup yesterday. Put Adam Thielen on the other side of it. land on some, some Chase and Brown or Chase and Ertz or whatever you want to do as a secondary stat. Like, you can do anything that you want with these to build out. I'm just saying, even like the Hurts, Goddard, Brown lineups I saw do well yesterday. They were fine. Obviously, Ritter and Pitts were up there. But then I'm saying how I use it is also look at the other stuff, like whether it was Achane or Mostert for you, because I know a lot of people didn't like the fact that Achane was going to be high owned in a split, not getting a bunch, all those reasons I understood. I'm saying, but at least here, how I would see not results oriented, just being process oriented would be like, okay, if the Dolphins are way below these big stacks, then you could get a Tyreek Hill one-off. You could get an Achane or a Mostert. And the results is that those would maybe not be in there and you wouldn't have as high of a score. I'm just showing how you could use the tool to get to a single entry to be able to find your way around. And then you land on something like this, again, without being results oriented and just going with it. Let's go with Goff, our top stack. It was Goff, Raymond. Let's put Chase. Let's put Marquise Brown. They were both up there. Let's go with Laporta. Let's say we were going with Achane. I'm just trying to mess around with this quick. Breece Hall. Whatever defense we land on, you end up taking our top value. That leaves you 7,900. You go to Bijan. And that's where you got to yesterday. 196. I'm just being, clicking off our projections and using some of the stuff I just talked about in the stack rankings. Look, Desmond Ritter, not quite as high on the board as the other guys, so you feel good about the Bijan play, obviously, anyway. I'm just showing it off how you could use it and move things around. Maybe it's, you take out Marquise Brown because you wanted a run back, and Thielen you plug in just because, 211. And again, you're on the wrong defense here. I get it. I'm just showing you examples of how you could use this, where I think how most people would to leave stacks, to use this stack rankings and be able to put things together in their own way to find something like that. So we don't need to stick with this, Nades. Anything else you want to add before we get to this winning lineup in the $20?
No, I think you broke it down perfectly. It's all about process. Yeah, not being results oriented, but using and creating a process, right? It's not just picks and plays. We talk about and we preach on that every single show. We're trying to help you become better players and use our tools that we use ourselves to create and come on these shows, give you advice with and how you can better utilize these tools and create a good process that, hey, your process isn't always going to win every single week, but all it takes is 1 week, right? That you hit $1 million, or you hit 250,000, you hit 100K, you hit 20K, right? And you just stick to a process, continue to hold in on a better process, talking through it, reviewing lineups like we do on the show, to eventually the time is yours, right? When all the cards do fall the same way.
And there's the guy in 10th, by the way. I just saw the score and hit me, and I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Both these guys had the same score. They just moved their pieces around, but look, there's the lineup right there, 10K in the $20 Millie Maker. So again, where you put it matters as well, contest selection, but just to show it, like, that's what I'm saying about using those tools, and we can't preach it enough. That's the idea behind it. That's why you see over on X, formerly Twitter, like we said, you go retweet that right now, repost it out to people. You can be in the draw for $50 cash, a hat and a shirt. That is just to show it, but that is to break it down where, again, it's a breakdown of why members are winning, even if we're not. It's not just Hoop, Tambo, Title, Nades, the rest of our team, Hamwich, all the team that's putting stuff together. It's being able to find it yourself, and this is really how you can do it. And there you go. Somebody found the team in the top 10 in the Millie Maker. But that's enough on that. We can move on. Let's look at the winner, Buckeye, who, by the way, talk about a swing. I know for a fact, I was just watching it because I do. Buckeye was down the board, and Wolfgar was winning. Again. And then Buckeye gets that defensive touchdown at the very end to ship it by very little. So what's that? 0.5 or whatever. So 0.6. The main thing is you see it here. Burrow, Chase, and then Montgomery, Breece Hall, Addison, Thielen, Goddard, Achane, Jets defense. So I like this lineup. It's, most of the stuff, there is no bring back, but it actually hit on a lot of the other categories. So once again, we see where it hits on here, Nades. Talk to me first thoughts on this lineup. Chat, throw anything out there. Ross says it, though. Yeah, contest selection's key. If you're playing anything higher dollar, smaller field, the 198s and the 211s I showed you just on some random clicks of value within our stuff would have been fine. I know in King of the Beach yesterday, it took like 200 to 212 to win any of those seats. So like, it was not like you needed the 248 that I just built off of that. But Nades, talk to me about this winning $20 lineup. First thoughts here. What do you see?
Yeah, the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, right? I mean, Burrow continues to get healthier. Jamar Chase, obviously, all the talks. Oh, I'm always open. I'm not getting the ball, blah, blah, blah. You had, like, I was heavily invested. I had 60% Jamar Chase yesterday. I was all in on Jamar Chase. His ownership did get higher than I wanted, but I also knew on the other side of that game, everyone wanted to play Mixon, right? Running backs against Arizona have smashed all season long. Mixon had a fair price point. Everyone, I mean, Mixon was coming with heavy projected ownership to coming into the slate. So flip the script there, even though Burrow and Chase were still in own stack, you're off the Mixon part of that game. You're plugging in the best value on the board in David Montgomery, right? That's why he's 45% owned. Everybody knew it, right? No Gibbs there, no Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6,600 against a team like Carolina. Throw in the secondary stack with Thielen, who continues to get it done each and every single week. I mean, just a target monster there. Still had a fair price point at 5,100. I mean, he has the targets and the snap share, everything of some of these 8,500 and up receivers, and he's 5,100. So made sense in the secondary correlation. If Montgomery's smashing, who's on the other side going to get the ball, right? It's going to be Thielen. It's going to be the pass catchers. I know DJ Chark. I played some DJ Chark. I know he was okay. The Jordan Addison play, right? Jefferson was projected to get a lot of ownership, right? People have been playing Jefferson each and every week. Obviously, little results oriented, right? Jefferson pulled his hammy there, got hurt. But if it's not, you don't have the money, right? Because you're playing Jamar Chase, you're playing the chains, the Montgomerys, the double spend in that 6K range at the running back position. I can't afford to get up to Justin Jefferson. So if it's not Jefferson, let me take a shot at this rookie, Jordan Addison, who's been involved in the offense. Maybe it's him, right? He did get a lot of garbage time there, but that's sometimes what you need. So Jordan Addison play in that $5,300 range makes some sense. The Breece Hall Jets defense correlation. I like correlating defense when it fits. I don't try and force it in, but when it fits, like a situation like this where, hey, Jets defense is still playing Russell Wilson and Breece Hall, best running back matchup on the board. If they fit together, it's a little bit more than that chalk Titans defense that everyone was playing. The 3K, I kind of live in that 27 to 3K range. I like that price point for defense personally. Pair him with Breece Hall, it makes sense. Overall, I think is an excellent build. Dallas Goedert spending up off the chalk tight ends, right? He's playing David Montgomery, so he didn't go Laporta. Well, who's in that range? Dallas Goedert, right? Tight ends against LA when I go to the DVP rankings also had a pretty good matchup too there. Dallas Goedert needed to get him more involved. It was hurtful to see for myself and Hoop. I know that we needed Devontae Smith a lot. And obviously Smith did not do the job. It was A.J. Brown, but mainly Dallas Goedert. So that was frustrating. But overall, very, very well-built lineup here. And he's $1 million richer. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, our guy Go Collect says $875K for the guy who dropped. And then Ross puts it all in perspective. That TD dropped me $15K. Yes, it's good to know it could have been a lot worse. Yeah, it's always bad for anyone that happens to. It's happened to me plenty of times. It's not fun. But it's definitely, one of those things. It's part of the game. And sometimes you can be on the opposite side of that where you need it to go your way and it happens late and that ends up being the shipper for you. So that's the key component. The big thing for me that stood out, I like Sean said this, we are going to look at some DVP rankings. Steven, who's here, our guy, Steven Neighbors, appreciate the support. As always, we will review in a way that's a little bit different. I'm not going to go, we'll talk about the winning lineup. I mentioned it. We'll talk about Nades being on Kittle. We are going to talk about it some though. Yes, because we also have our show coming up on the Mayo Media Network at 2 p.m. Eastern with Hoop, Title, and myself. We're going to be breaking down all things Monday Night Football for the Green Bay Las Vegas game. But just a note here, Nades, Mayo and I talk about this, speaking to him, all the time on the Friday show that we do in studio. And we're like, where are the good game environments or the good spots? And then how can we mix them together? And I do want to bring that back up. Our stack rankings, as we showed, had the Cardinals and the Bengals in there. So just a key component on that when we go back, if you're starting there and everyone like Jamar Chase, he obviously got up to 20%, but his quarterback had almost no ownership. You don't need to run it back. But Denver has been getting smashed on the ground. We knew the coach speak about Breece Hall. We weren't sure if it was going to be true, but he can break it at any time. So this made sense to me. Okay, we know the Miami game, huge total. All right, we talked about why that could make sense. And obviously everyone was in on this. We get it. That's why you go there. You play it for the big play. You need a lot to go your way. Montgomery, Same thing. Detroit, big favorite at home against Carolina. It's been Montgomery. Touchdowns, everything like that, all of it. Then you say, what are the two other big games on the slate? The biggest total on the slate was Minnesota KC. How do I get a piece of that? Well, I can't get to Jefferson. I can't afford him. Why don't I just get a piece of it via Jordan Addison? And maybe they double Jefferson. Maybe something happens to him. Who knows? It's the way it can work. That makes sense to me. And then what was the other big total right beside it? Philly and LA. How do I get a piece of it? I can use Goddard and tie it all together now. Me with the chat paying attention. Sean says Goddard as a one-off, which I just talked was a key piece of that game against the Rams D, who can't stop the tight end. Good choice. DVP is, as our guy Joe says, defensive position. It's defense versus position. And so we'll have it sorted by that. But just to note it, Nades, like that's the key. Played the good spots, got a piece of pretty much every good game, and in the end, got the job done, correlated it well. Shout out to Buckeye 151, $1 million richer with a semifinal seat into the Tournament of Champions. Anything else on that one, Nades, before we move over?
Yeah, just hitting on the DVP rankings a little bit. I know some people there was some talk on DeAndre Swift, didn't come in with crazy ownership, but people wanted to play Swift. People, myself included, wanted to play the Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith stacks, right? If you go to our DVP rankings and you type in LAR right there in that, and you look at the Rams, 11th against the quarterback, right? Running back, they're good against wide receiver. Where are they bad against? Oh, they're bad against tight end. Who's also in that range? Sam Laporta. Zach Ertz, he's a little bit more expensive than Zach Ertz. Some of these other guys that did do well, but if you want a piece of that game because you can't afford the Hurts stack, you're already in on the Burrow, the Chase, why not? Dallas Goedert, he's been a huge part of that offense his whole time in Philly, and it also, you get a piece of that, and hey, it's a great matchup. So that's just one way you can use another piece of our tools. Type it in there real quick. Obviously, the lower the number, the better they are versus the position. 32 is the worst. So 23rd, that's pretty bad. That's obviously bottom third of the league against the tight end, and it fit the roster. So that's just one way you can use the DVP, which is very simple and very easy to use. That's what we love over here. Simplicity, easy to use. Everyone has 9-to-5s. Everyone has family, kids, things like that at home. Want content nice early, being able to use it themselves and create their own process. And that's why we created, and that's why Tambo and Hoop created this and spun this off for you guys.
And like Sean said, he's like, he found the one-off. Like, that's how you find it. Like, just little things like this that you can pick up on your own. You don't need Hoop, myself, any of the rest of our team to teach you this or tell you this. I mean, we'll try and teach you as much as we can, but if we don't tell you this, you could still go find it yourself. It's as simple as this, but then you say, oh, that's just a basic tool. That's fine. If you want to use this, we do have the advanced data page where it goes much further in depth. There's more than just the basics. Again, it gets hefty. You'll want to have a desktop for this, but just to show it, you can go in depth as more in depth as you want to go. But as Stewie says here, it's an educated guessing game. When you do put the time in, and we try and make it simple so it's not all your time, you can go find those little other nuggets like that. And like I said, the big thing for me, and Mayo and I talk about it, was just the way that Buckeye 151 found pieces in all the good games that still fit the rest of the correlation. Like, you got Burrow, Chase, Montgomery, Thielen, Breece Hall, Jets D. That's 6 pieces right there that just match up perfectly. But then to say, okay, I don't have that passing game, so let me get the running game. We know everybody did. I'm just saying that makes sense. I want a piece of that mini KC game. I can't afford Jefferson. Let me get Addison. And then not only if you went and dug into the DVP rankings and found this, but like you said, if I'm not going to have Laporta in this lineup, or I'm not going to go that route, maybe I'll get a piece of that Philly LA game. This is the best spot Goddard might have seen so far. Why not move over to that? So shout out to Buckeye 151.
Another thing to note too, Tambo, is 7 of the top 10 in terms of ROI in the Millie had under 10 lineups. Obviously, Buckeye took first. He had a single bullet. This was a single bullet. Wolfgar had 2 lineups, took second, obviously, with that defensive touchdown. 2 lineups, 6 lineups, 1 lineup, 2 lineups, 2 lineups. So everyone says, oh, you need 150 to win. There's jokes, right? Oh, you only win because you're playing 150. That's back-to-back weeks. We've seen the top of the leaderboard in the $20 millie, which, hey, you go and spend $20 at Chick-fil-A on lunch or wherever, $20 going out with your family, you spend way more than that. These people are using tools, content, and this lineup isn't absurd like some of the millie makers that we see. You talk about game environments, all pieces that everyone was playing. He just put the piece in the puzzle together the correct way, without seeing obviously the picture before he did that.
But it all made sense, and you said it. Like, look at this. He's still got a 6% Burrow, a 4% Addison, a 5% Goddard, a defense in the range where we were playing. Like, he could have got more. He could have played the Saints here and got 10 more points and blew them out. The point is, it didn't make sense to him in his lineup. This is the best lineup we've seen maybe all season. Win the $20, in my opinion, just from all the breakdown on it. Like, just seeing it this way, this makes a ton of sense. And this is why we review and go back and look. And if you just can take away one little thing each time from these review shows and be able to go back and see it, that's the way we're trying to break it down. We're trying to learn, get better, help you do the same. I love it. Obviously, very passionate about process. That's why we do all this. If you want more like this, when you go sign up at SHIPITNation.com, you get full access to the 4-hour NFL DFS process course. We don't just talk about it. We be about it. Hoop and I went on. We talked about our process, roster construction, live finals, qualifiers. We did a whole segment on Showdown. So for a guy, Steven Neighbors, who was looking for breaking down last night's lineup, you want just Showdown breakdown in general, you can get all that and more and go to it from that angle. If you go back here, you go to our site, you can check this out for free right now. If you just go to SHIPITNation.com, go under Shop Education, you can see I'm logged in, so you're going to see the actual course. But when you click on it, it actually has breakdowns where you can just skip ahead the process, roster construction, live finals, qualifiers. I break down my actual live finals that I was in last year, the year before in the King of the Beach, winning 150K. Hoop breaks down. Where's it at here? Hoop breaks down his Millie Maker win. But this is all here for you guys. You can go and see it, the whole breakdown on it. But you get access to this course for free when you join up. So it's an added bonus of becoming a member at SHIPITNation.com. Let's move on, Nades. Let's go to this 4444 Mega. Talk about contest selection. Again, it's nicer if you can like win a ticket into us, which we'll talk about. Our guy, MYG fan, Dwayne, he's the man. He's always in here with us checking this out. I'm sure he'll watch it back on playback, but he won a seat or multiples of them. Actually won multiples last week. I saw it, and then he went and parlayed it up, got a 7th place here. But the scores, much different, Nades, and just breaking it down here and seeing some of these scores to get there. We saw 250s. It looks like, if my math is correct, 180.44 blew away our guy Hishbu, who's been on fire this season in every sport. Ricky D always crushes. Hishbu up there again. BK Ryder has been on fire. Two Gun, though, him in his own right. He's won multiple Millie Makers. He came second in the Fantasy Football World Championship in New Orleans last year for $1.25 million. Goes and gets another Millie Maker win. Here's his lineup, Nades. Jared Goff, David Montgomery, Reynolds, Laporta, Thielen, and then he had Tyreek, Hopkins, Tennessee. And I see what the glitch is here. These scores are wrong, and Labs is missing a position. So we're missing a running back position, I'll guess. What would it be? 5,700? Not sure who that would be just off the top of my head. Just trying to see.
Probably Breece Hall.
Yeah, it could have been anybody of that range. Probably Breece Hall.
It's probably Breece Hall, yeah.
Yeah, apologize, guys. Not our tool, obviously, to break it all down. But I think what's weird is when we go back to this one, QB, RB, the proper scores, whatever glitch is going on, they are clearly missing a running back spot, and it seems like they're tallying things correctly, but that is a note. So I'm actually not sure if he won, if their tool's right or wrong, because I didn't have it from yesterday up, and I wasn't in the 44-44. So
yeah, I wasn't in it, but I would assume I can just do this in Excel real quick. But go ahead and let me throw this into Excel and just do what the. Let me just see what it would be.
Yeah, I'm going to go to this one while you check that. I apologize, guys. Again, check it out. But again, I'm not even sure if that's the actual breakdown. They do have it as sorted by that. So hopefully he was the winner. Hopefully our guy MYG fan got that. Otherwise, we look a little bit foolish. But just to note it, I don't mind. I mean, we break it down for what we see. But this one is correct. So I'm going to go to this one. This is a member at SHIPIT Nation. He's in that post that we put up this morning that you can go out and repost on our X at SHIPIT Nation. D Dry won the game changer. This was the lineup. The $1,500 single entry won the 100K. He's featured in that post. It was Burrow, Chase. So similar to what we saw in the last one. Montgomery, Hall, had Zay Flowers in there. Pittman. I like the secondary. Pittman, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Conklin with Breece Hall, Zay Flowers, where you could crush against Pittsburgh. And then it did not happen, but it could. And then the New Orleans defense in on this one. So another good breakdown. No bring back. Not really necessary if you didn't want to from the Arizona side. I liked the Arizona side. I'll say that. But and then you don't need this one. I always talk about this when they exit out like it's a necessity. It's clearly not a necessity, not something that you need. This is a single entry. So this is the only bullet to put in. But Burrow to Chase makes perfect sense. I've been talking about these combo packs, and we've been talking about these combo packs, Nades, where you can play it as 2 plays from the same side. But Breece Hall and Conklin, very cheap for a combined cost of $8,600. The secondary stack of Pittman and Hopkins I like. And then Zay Flowers going up against Pittsburgh. Just trying to see here as you look that up, if we can look up something else.
Yeah, it was definitely Breece Hall. So his actual score would have been 211.44 or 211.84, excuse me, because that would have left $300. There was no other running back in that $5,700 range that people were playing. Breece Hall, obviously $5,400, left $300 on the table.
Yeah, and so back to this lineup, Zay Flowers there as a unique one-off. But again, you go back to the DVP rankings, you type in Pittsburgh, they get crushed by wide receivers.
Just don't even type anything in for people like, oh, well, I don't know who to type in. Just literally click receiver and sort by, and there it is right there. Same thing for running back. Well, why Breece Hall, right? Sort by running back. The top matchup is Denver, 32nd in the league against running backs.
Yeah, Carolina was up there. We looked at that one. Obviously, that was going against them with Montgomery was good reason. So you can keep this stuff in mind. Maybe we'll talk about it more in a second. I see Green Bay there, and that's on the slate for tonight. But anything else to add with this one here before we move on, Nates?
Yeah, just overall, obviously context selection is huge. You talk about it all the time, and you always bring it up in your content when you're doing it, when you're playing either the 555, whatever it is. Obviously, you weren't in the 444 this week, but what did he do? He overstacked the spot that he had faith in. The Detroit, Carolina, overstacked it, right? Got all the offense. He said, no Amon-Ra, no Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm just going to grab the entire offense, the Laporta, the Josh Reynolds, the Montgomery, the Jared Goff. He went up to Josh Reynolds to middle that ownership a little bit. Obviously, Khalif Raymond, right, was projected to be the mega chalk on Detroit between him and Montgomery. He said, I'm playing Montgomery. I'm going to go up a little bit more. Why can't it be Josh Reynolds? It cuts down the ownership a little bit more there. I have the salary to do it. Let me run it back with the target monster in Adam Thielen, which is absurd to me that in this contest in field, he only got to 7% at that price point. When you look at his involvement in Carolina's offense, and you're already overstacking Detroit, saying, hey, Detroit's going to be scoring a lot of points. They need to be passing the ball in Carolina. They're not going to be running the ball. Yeah, maybe they might do the dump offs. Let me go to their number one receiver. So Adam Thielen fit the build. Tyreek Hill, right? He's not playing the chains, so he wants a piece of that offense. If it's not Achane, Mostert, which obviously they did get there. Mostert still did okay, got that late touchdown. Achane just continues to just bust off runs in limited snaps. He got there, but I'm not playing that. I have the salary. I'm not playing the Justin Jefferson. I'm going to go Tyreek Hill. Give me a piece of that big total. Obviously, Tyreek Hill can do it every week. He's continued to do it all week. Fills that. DeAndre Hopkins was one of my favorite receivers on the board yesterday. Looking at that price point, his target tree there in Tennessee has been insane. Very, very good there. So overall, very good build. And then Tennessee defense just probably fit for him. Didn't want to. Obviously, it was the chalk defense. It just fit the lineup.
Yeah. And we can go back and look here for a second because Stewie just asked, would a Miami onslaught have got you there yesterday? I know it was close because I used it in places. I talked about this on the free show yesterday morning on the Mayo Media Network, but let's just pull it up. I'm actually going to sort by value because it's going to come up a lot easier that way, but it was like Tyreek. In this example, let's just say I was plugging the D into it as well. I had Smythe, who got a 0. I know what he's going to want is Waddle. Let's just see what you could do here. Just see something crazy. So this leaves me 4.2K. It's going to be very tight, but let's just see. Who's our cheapest tight end, Nades, that I can go down to? Let's go Jonnu, because I know people were talking about him.
Yeah, Jonnu Smith, yeah.
What's that leave us? 4.6. Probably got to get like a Khalif Raymond in, and then it's going to be close, but you can get Breece Hall, and then in flex you have 5.1K. Laporta. 178. So no good. No, you would have needed a lot more than that. And that's just, again, one way of doing it. You can mess around with it, but that's why things like this just get too expensive. Even in a smaller field, like if Achan has a huge day, it's unlikely that all these guys are getting there. So you were better off. I saw a lot of people have this, myself included. I had a lot of this Achan with Tyreek Hill. And the nice part was, one thing I saw that you could actually do was every lineup that had those two in it yesterday, I always look for like flips, I call them. But basically, if you had this setup here and go to Tyreek, it was remaining 34,900. So let's go. 34,900 remaining.
Jefferson, Madison, or Pacheco.
34,900 remaining. So it was really interesting where you could just have that as if you wanted to go with the Miami guys, or did you want to get a piece of that bigger game? That was one of the things that I saw yesterday that you could do just as a unique way when you're looking through it to try and see options. That was one that popped up to me. Going to round it out with this, Nades. This was one of my bad core report setups here, but I did like that game. I did use a lot of the tools that we just talked about as ways to get after it and set things up. But just so you guys see the breakdown, this was without Miami in this lineup. That's what I was trying to do, is avoid picking my spots within the Miami game. You could build it like I just showed you with the same setup, but this was the lineup. It was Dobbs, Connor, Wilson with Jamar Chase run back. That allowed me to get David Montgomery, the Tennessee D, Kyle Pitts, and Justin Jefferson. The Pacheco Jefferson was the secondary. Then I just fit in some of the plays that I thought were too cheap. So again, not who you play, it's how you play them. I still had some low ownership on these guys in here, 11%, 3%, 10%, 10%, 9%, but had some success with this. My main thing was trying to get kind of the whole end zone, and I couldn't quite get, I was looking at ways to move it around. I could have went to like Raymond with Ertz here, and that would have been probably better. I didn't see it till after, but just little notes. I obviously have mix and matches of this, but this was one of my lineups there, Nades. I'm not sure if I've got.
Go to the $33 because that was the 33.5 max. And my top lineup was my core lineup that I posted in the Discord. And it came directly from our tools. Yeah, that very top one.
193, right?
Yeah, that was my very top one that I posted and pinned in the Discord. Obviously, we try and keep our site clean and precise. Obviously, there's more people than just Hoop, Tambo, and Title on cores, but we didn't want to throw 15 cores up on the website to make people choose. So myself included, post our main team in the Discord and pin it for members that are Discord members. This is the team that I posted in there. Josh Downs obviously crushed. He's been heavily involved in that. Had a great matchup there as well. 3 yards shy of that 100-yard bonus, which will hurt a little bit there. Obviously, the DeAndre Swift not getting in the box hurt a little bit. But the Puka Nacua thing, I know you were big on that. You definitely pushed me on that play a little bit too, that, hey, this guy has been incredible all season long. Why would they go away from him, even though Cooper Kupp came in? Why not just put them on each side of the field, and then they both have basically two Cooper Kupps out there? Obviously, they both did good. Puka continues to just smash there. I had the secondary stack there with DeAndre Swift. The Bijan, Dalton Schultz thing. Dalton Schultz had the fourth best matchup on the board in terms of tight ends. Bijan was our second-rated running back in terms of value on the slate. I didn't want to play the chalk Montgomery, so I still played a chalk running back there. Middled that ownership down with a 1.5% owned Dalton Schultz. Secondary stack. DeAndre Hopkins, again, was my favorite mid-tier wide receiver on the slate. If you go to our DVP rankings, he ranked very well there. Obviously, Indy, 25th in the league against wide receivers. So I use these tools religiously to build these teams. Go to the stack rankings, Ryan Tannehill, third best stack on the board. DeAndre Hopkins also right there. I didn't want to play the Chig Okonwu. I haven't been playing Chig all year. So if I'm not playing Chig in that same price point, who can I also play that makes sense? Secondary correlation stack gets that ownership down off of Bijan a little bit as well. So that just shows you like how using the tools in a process to build a lineup. Obviously, it didn't get all the way there, but it was still a very nice day with all the contests that I had this lineup entered in.
Yeah, and Bijan hurt people. I understand that. But, like, again, if you were playing Bijan and looking for a secondary, I love the Schultz play, not just results-oriented. Like I said, if you go back here, type in Atlanta, pretty good on the season, horrible against the tight end. If you can get a guy like that 1%. So again, like Nate said, you don't know how to use this, same as the stack rankings. You just come over. You could have looked at this and looked for, didn't Troutman score a touchdown yesterday too? I think so, against them. I'm not sure how Hurst went, but like you can look at options this way and just try and find angles in when you're formulating your pools and try and build out from there. So definitely something to check out there. Like Nate said, you guys can go over and see that. I think that's going to do it for this one though, man. I mean, we'll talk quickly. Let's do this actually. Let's go back here for tonight. So Green Bay, really bad against the running back, right?
Jacobs.
So maybe, yeah, well, listen, here's a thought, right? Real little showdown thought for tonight. We got a few minutes left here. We'll spend a couple seconds on it here. The Devontae Adams will play early in the day news. Devontae Adams revenge game narrative. What's the real way to smash Green Bay in a home game? They're at home, sorry, as a small favorite. You could get after it with Jacobs, right? That's definitely an option there. Let's go to the other side of this game and pretty much play whatever you want. But do you have first thoughts when you look at this one, Nades? Because it's just a quick way to look at the DVP rankings.
First thing, I was already talking in the Discord a little bit. Obviously, I haven't. I was thinking Jordan Love, Musgrave, and Josh Jacobs. So like it could be the 2-4 build, right? Jacobs and the captain. Find your other Raider. Four Packers coming back, including Jordan Love and the tight end, whoever you choose there. Is just a quick thought. But what I also want to bring up is because I know people are wondering, like, why Kittle, right? He was 4.5%. Type in Dallas once right there. Look at Dallas across the board. Look at the one spot, right? It's a one-game slate. You need to play someone from both sides of the ball. Obviously, people are going to the McCaffreys, right? The Ayuks, the Debos. I was like, okay, well, obviously those guys are very good playmakers and they can get there. But where has Dallas struggled the most on the season with? It's George Kittle, and the ownership wasn't going there. It's a competitive game. That's how I arrived to the George Kittle. So another example of how to use the tools and the content over here at SHIPIT Nation to formulate a process. Same thing with San Fran. I played CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb obviously didn't get there, but my lineup still smashed last night, even with CeeDee Lamb.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. Nobody really got there on the Dallas side, but Turpin got there actually. But just to note, like, again, the wide receivers were the way to get after them. That's why I liked CeeDee Lamb last night. Again, it did not come through. I take the L on that one too, so it's fine. But this is just so you guys wonder, where are you finding these things? Where are you getting these concepts and ideas? Well, that's how you can trust SHIPIT Nation, when you know that we're spending all day digging into these things. But if you have the time, this is what makes it easier for you to go and do. It's very simple tonight to come to this page, type in SF and find this stuff, or type in GB and find this, and then you watch the free shows. You get the other stuff on the site that we have. You use the showdown projections. You go to the core report, read the player pool that Hoop sets up, read my slate plan, breaking it all down, angles in that we're taking. That's why you're seeing people get to the top of the leaderboards even when we're not. You want to be part of a team and a community where that's the case. We're all just working together to get better, learn together, and learn process to try and get better, make better lineups, and find our ways to the top of these GPPs and these large field tournaments. So cash games have been on fire as well. Nades mentioned earlier, title just crushes. He calls it Free Money Sunday. It's that for a reason. It's been on fire to start the season. I know most people said 4 out of 5 weeks, just dominant. And yesterday, those cash lineups were good enough to win tournaments in some of the higher dollar, smaller field stuff. So just a huge kudos to Title, the rest of the team, all the members getting the job done. If you're not a member and you want to be a member, go to shipitnation.com. You can get it for as little as $19, but you heard it all throughout the show. The place to be is in the Discord. So you can get in for as little as $69 a month. You can get as little for as $49 a month if you do the annual plan. But check us out, try it out, get in the Discord. Nades, final thoughts before we get out of here?
Hey, yeah, final thoughts. Just one last thing. If you go to the cash report and core reports, which are still up, and you click the old cash report and take a look at what Mr. Title was on, I think even if you played that in GPPs, you did pretty good. David Montgomery, Khalif Raymond obviously didn't get there, but he had Jamar Chase and guess who? Sam Laporta. You start with that in your lineup, you're sitting pretty good, obviously filling pieces around that. You throw Jared Goff in there, obviously you're having a pretty good day there.
Yeah, it was a great day. That's what I mean. So you guys can check it out. Go over on our X at SHIPIT Nation. You can repost the pinned version that we have up there right now with all the winners, including our 100K winner that we talked about earlier, our guy D-Dry. What's that?
I said I just posted the link in the chat. They can just click that. I'll take them right to the tweet.
Take it right there. Repost it, comment, hashtag SHIPIT, or anything else you want to talk about. If you're a member, you can comment what you like, a testimonial, anything like that. We're going to be giving away $50 cash and a SHIPIT hat and t-shirt this afternoon on the 2 p.m. Eastern show. Tune into that one. That's going to do it for this week, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Be back for that show. For Nades, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it.